When you got up off your seat to go tell the manager, were you mad?
No, sir.
It's odd that the guy's not picking up, but yet he's making phone calls.
I'm imagining there are a number of different Medicare products or different companies.
Were you grumpy? That is a real question asked under oath by a defense lawyer of his own client in a murder trial. It sounds absurd until you know that the case turned on whether a man was angry when he walked back into a cinema. This video is 3 cases built entirely out of questions like that. The ones that sound like nothing at all. How a professional license gets renewed. Who telephoned whom and at what minute. Not a ranking, and deliberately not the dramatic moments, just the boring questions, and what each of them was actually for. All real courtroom tape. We start in Wesley Chapel, Florida. This is a defense lawyer questioning his own client, and every question is about mood. Were you mad? Were you grumpy? Did you go back to your seat politely? It sounds like small talk, and it is the entire defense. The state's case needed a man who was angry, so the defense is quietly building a man who was merely awkward about disturbing people in a dark cinema. Chad Oulson died there in 2014. Curtis Reeves, a retired police captain, said he acted in self-defense, and in February 2022 a jury acquitted him.
Okay. So where did you go then?
I went back in the theater.
And did you go back into your role?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you try to get back to your seat in a polite and courteous way?
Yeah, going in and out, I told people. Most people don't go out right after the show starts. It's kind of awkward, so I kind of felt awkward leaving at that particular point, but I said things like, sorry, I have to get by, excuse me, that sort of thing. Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you mad?
No, sir.
When you got up off your seat to go tell the manager, were you mad?
No, sir.
You heard Mrs. Roy come and testify before this jury. When you were leaving the theater, were you grumpy?
No, sir.
Did you tell the manager where you were seated?
Yes, sir, I did.
As you were walking back to your seat, did you get back to your seat?
I got back to my seat, and then I took the popcorn bag from my wife and sat down and got it from her. One or the other, I got it from her.
Okay, and during that time period, did you hear Mr. Oulson making any statements?
I heard him. He wasn't talking to me. I don't know who he was talking to. He was talking, again, kind of loud. And he was saying something about the manager and the theater. I didn't pick up every word. I was standing up, and it was something about the theater and the manager, and he had been kind of staring in my direction, and I don't know. He wasn't talking to me, but he was speaking out loud.
He was staring at your directions as you were walking?
As I came back in, yes, sir. He kind of looked in my direction.
Okay. And was he accusing you of turning him into the manager?
I kind of interpreted it as that, but I didn't hear those exact words. It was, I think he was trying to relay that he was not happy.
Okay. And then what did you do at this point?
I tried to, I think the word is diffuse the situation, so I made a comment to him about if I had known that you had put your phone away, I wouldn't have involved the manager.
Okay. Now, Mr. Reeves, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happens at this very moment.
As I sit down, he's still talking loudly, and he's facing away from me. I can pick up a word every now and then, but I don't know what he's actually saying. And a movement caught me off on the right side of my eye, and I turned my head to look at him, and almost immediately he had turned and was on his feet, and I had something between me and the theater screen that I saw just a flash of a reflection off of, and then everything went kind of fuzzy. If that.
Did you believe at that point that you had been hit?
Yes, sir, I did.
And where do you think that you were hit at that moment?
I think I was hit on my glasses on the top left side. That was where I felt the impact, I think, and I wasn't sure how it had happened because I didn't think he was that close to me, so it had to be something else.
That's what you thought.
Yes, sir.
This blur that you saw, were you able to describe it?
It was like a flash. It was between me and the screen. It was very close to me. I had it just didn't compute. I had no idea what it was at that time.
At that moment, did it appear that he was coming into your space?
At that point, I noticed that he was standing up. He was yelling a lot of profanities. There was threats and who the fuck do you think you are? I was texting my fucking daughter. The F word seemed to be his primary vocabulary at that point. Who the fuck do you think you are? I'm going to fuck you up or something. Now that's not exact because I'm picking up bits and pieces because this guy is very volatile and active. He's trying to come over the seats.
Did you try initially to get up?
I was in a seated position, and when I first detected the profanity and stuff, he was trying to come over the seat. He was trying to. I felt like he was trying to either that or get to me, one or the other. It appeared to me that I've never been in that kind of a position before, and I realized immediately, and I don't know whether he got onto us. I don't know what happened, but when he stood up, I'm sitting down in a completely defenseless position. I'm looking up at this guy, and he looked like a monster standing there. He was mad. He exhibited explosive behavior, both verbally and physically. And I had seen his wife, who had tried to control him when he jumped up, and she had a hold of his arm, and he had turned around. At that point, I was focused on him.
Why at that point were you just focused on him?
He was a threat. He was a threat that was very close to me. And the closer a threat is to you, the less time you have to react to anything that happens. I had tried to get further away from my wife because he was after me, and I had leaned as far as I could to my left, and I had kind of straightened my right leg out towards where my wife was sitting, and I didn't want to again hit.
Call logs are the least cinematic evidence there is, and prosecutors love them because a phone record cannot be talked round. This is Charlie Adelson being walked through a morning of them. A call at 21 minutes to 10, one that nobody picked up, and a remark he made to his mother that one of them was odd. He then has to explain why it was odd, which requires explaining what he expected instead. He was convicted in November 2023 and sentenced to life without parole.
Been telling you about her calling the number.
She said she called the number, and she called another number, and nobody picked up.
So your mom calls you, and that's Z. That's Z, correct? That's Z on April 28th at 9:42 a.m. And why did you tell your mom during that call that it's odd that the guy called the office? What was odd about it?
It was odd that he called the office because Katie had been telling me she's been calling the number. So it's odd that the guy's not picking up, but yet he's making phone calls.
After that call, there are a series of calls where you try to reach Catherine Magbanua, right?
Yes.
Why are you trying to reach her?
Because I just heard that the guy's calling the office, and she said she'd called and the guy wasn't picking up, or she may have told me it was a non-working number. And I was driving into the office at the time, and I had limited time to try to handle this before I got into the office. It became really busy.
Call AA. They played. The state played for the jury. That's a voicemail where you say, "Hey, it's me. It's important. Call me. Bye." Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Now, BB is on April 28th at 10:43 in the morning, and she calls you back, correct?
Yes, you called me back.
What does Katie, if you remember, and I can play it for you if you need it, what does Katie first tell you about the phone number when you call her back, when she calls you back?
She says it's a non-working number, and that it's a Gmail number, and it's been called 100 times.
What do you understand her to be saying when she says it's a non-working number?
That like when you call a number, it rings, and then you hear like a long beep, and that no one's able to pick it up, and it's not an active line.
Later in this call, BB, she then tells you that she's been calling the number and it just rings. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When she tells you that, how do you feel?
I know she's lying to me, because it's either going to be non-working or it's ringing. It can't be both. And the guy's calling the office. So
And at that point in time, I think Miss Kappelman termed it as things got stressful. You started to get upset with her, right?
yeah, I know she's lying to me.
And as you're finding out that she's lying to you, what do you start to think?
I start to think that this could be Sigfredo, and that's why she's kind of covering and not wanting to come meet me when I keep asking her to come meet me. I think she found out that it's him, and she's just BSing me.
Now, at some point after the argument in the middle of the call, you soften and you say, if someone's messing with you, they're messing with me. Why do you do that?
Because at that point, I want her to know that like I'm on your side. I'm not trying to set you up. I'm not turning anybody in. Like, I know you're innocent. I had nothing to do with this. I know you had nothing to do with it, but I need your help, and that's why I'm calling her, is for help.
At the end of the call, what does she tell you she'll do? What does she tell you to do?
At the end of the call, she says you call for that number. I'm like, fine, I'll call me. I don't know any of these people. I don't think anyone's going to be afraid of me. But at this point, I don't care. I said, you know what? Let me just call the number, and when I get to the office and I have a break, I'm going to call him.
Now, does she tell you like she did with Sigfredo on a later call? Does she tell you, make sure you don't call from your cell phone?
No.
Does she tell you like she did with Sigfredo on a later call, make sure you call from a landline?
No.
And you call from your cell phone, correct?
I did, yes.
Now, before you call from your cell phone, you do *67. Why did you do *67?
In the event that it's a bad guy, I thought it would prevent him from having my cell phone number.
By the way, in DD, when you're going back and forth, because there's some calls between you and her trying to get the number and seeing if the caller ID, if there's caller ID at the dental practice. She says to you, you want me to call from my fucking phone, and you say, I can care less where you call from. And she says, exactly. Why do you not care where either of you are calling from?
Because if it's the police, it's fine. I'm worried about if it's not the police.
And why do you think that it doesn't matter where she calls from?
Because I don't think she's involved in the extortion of me or the murder of Dan Markel.
At 1:51, a minute and 51 seconds into DD, and again, DD is that same morning, April 28th. You say to her, they can listen to whatever conversations they want. You're talking about calling on your phone. Quote, they can listen to whatever conversations they want. Why do you not care about anyone hearing what you're talking about?
Because we weren't involved in a murder. You know, we're trying to figure out who's behind the second extortion and if my family's in any danger. If it's the police, let them listen in. That's fine.
Now I want.
And here is a defendant in a murder trial explaining in real detail how selling insurance products works. The qualification tests, the different providers, the weeks of preparation every year. There is no trap in this and no cross-examination. It is her own lawyer. The point is the ordinariness itself. Nancy Crampton Brophy was convicted in May 2022 and sentenced to life.
And so is that how you were able to sell Medicare with your life insurance license?
That's how you're eligible to be able to sell.
Okay.
But they won't let you sell Medicare with that. You have to take a specific Medicare test. You have to, for every Medicare provider, you have to take their qualification test. And so it is, you spend a month to 6 weeks every year getting prepared.
And I'm imagining there are a number of different Medicare products, or
Yes.
different companies that sell Medicare products.
Yes.
And if you worked for Company A, could you sell Company B, C, D's products, or just Company A's?
No, you could sell B, C, and D if you took B, C, and D's qualifying test, which meant that you had passed the initial test, and then they had their own version of it, which was essentially like training you on their product.
Okay, but in 2015, did you have both the licensing and kind of the company's leeway to sell any Medicare policy?
No, I was really limited in what I could sell in 2015. But by the time 2016 came around, that had expanded greatly.
Okay. Well, before we get into the different years, I want you to describe the advantage of selling Medicare over selling life insurance.
Well, if you sell a life insurance policy, you get a big hunk of money, which you may have to pay back if they don't keep the policy. Medicare doesn't work like that. One, it's complicated. Two, the people are all over 65 and they are not eager to change 18 times. There's not a huge significant difference between each policy. There are some reasons to have a different type of policy, but once you've determined that, nobody's offering a better deal. It's really regulated a lot by the government. So people don't change that much. They find something they like, they find something that works, and you keep up with them and you check in with them every year. Here's the magic about Medicare. You don't get that much money for selling a Medicare policy. You can sell, a policy till the cows come home. But if I sell 12 policies in 2015, and I sell, I think, 36, 50 maybe in 2016. In 2016, not only, actually it's 2017 because you don't get paid till the next year, but you get the money from 2016 all over again, plus 2017. In 2018, now if you haven't lost anybody, you get 2016, 2017, 2018. Money will all come in 2019. So you can see if you worked hard for even a short period of time, like 5 to 6 years, you could have a retirement income that would continue on and on and on. And this was like a light coming on over our heads. We said, look at this. we have a retirement income if we do this right. So, for example, you could have $100,000 a year coming in retirement if you work for probably about 10 years. And you worked hard. This is not a question of you sailed through. I mean, you work hard during that period to pick that kind of money up.
But eventually you have a book of clients that would carry you through,
Yes.
as long as you made the minimal effort of taking care of them, making a call and making sure things happen in the next year.
Right.
Okay. And I think you said that in 2000, did we start in 2015?
We did.
And you sold 12 policies.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in 2016?
I'm trying to remember the number of policies I sold. It's, I want to say 50, but it could have been less than that. But in 2017, when we figured out how this worked, and Dan and I had come up with the plan, I figured out enough about Medicare that I wasn't fumbling in the dark. I sold 120 policies. I was considered one of the outstanding salespeople with United Healthcare who was operating with them, and they told me this on a regular basis because I sold that many policies. And it wasn't that hard. You just had to commit to things.
What did you have to do to sell those policies? We heard about kiosks because I keep talking about them.
Right?
Tell us about a Medicare kiosk.
Well, I'm trying to remember how many days a week it was, but it ended up being a total of 6 days a week. I was in a Fred Meyer's kiosk in Oregon City. In McMinnville, I was in a Walgreens kiosk. I occasionally had picked up other kiosk short-term visits. So what you do is you cannot go and approach somebody in the grocery store and say, hey, you look like you're Medicare age. You want to talk to me? That's not done. You sit there at the kiosk, and if somebody walks by and says, you know, my mother-in-law's on this, you can start a conversation. And as you can see, when I told you I was chatty, I'm chatty. This is an ideal situation for me. People walk by and they chat, and sometimes we talk about books, sometimes we talk about other things. But I can talk to a stranger. And so for me, it was just like, and you sat in a kiosk and they came to you. It wasn't like you had to go and knock on a door. Now, other places, and I was with Providence, and that's who I'm thinking of first, and also United Healthcare would have these people who called in and said, we need information. And yeah, they all had in-house salespeople. But a lot of times they would have do what was known as a blitz, and they would invite you in, and you got to call these lists of people, and sometimes that would result in 7 to 10 policies. A lot of it was you had to just keep working. You had to keep. You hang up the phone and you call the next person, and you talk to them long enough to see if they really have a question. And sometimes you went out and saw people who you knew weren't going to buy another policy from you, but you went out just to solve their Medicare problems.
Let me ask you this. These phone blitzes, you're calling through people. You can't sell a Medicare policy over the phone, can you?
You could.
You could?
3 of the least dramatic stretches of tape on this channel, and all 3 are load-bearing. Mood, timing, and the texture of an ordinary working life. A jury will use all of it, and lawyers on both sides know that far better than any audience does. If you have watched true crime for a while and wondered why real trials feel so slow, this is the answer. Most of the work is done by questions that sound like nothing. Everything here is public record courtroom tape. Subscribe for more real case files, told with respect for the people at the center of them.